Hi, everyone. Mimi Rocah here for Talking Feds. I want to talk to you about a really sad and serious topic, and that is the murder 2 days ago, I believe, in the evening of two young people, a couple, Yaron Leshinsky and Sarah Milgram. They were gunned down as they were exiting a function for young Jewish professionals at the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. It was a function that happened to be about delivering humanitarian relief across the Middle East and North Africa, including Gaza. And both of these people, these victims, had actually dedicated much of their short lives to promoting interfaith and intercultural understanding and trying to promote peace between Israel and their Arab neighbors. What happened is that a man came up behind them. He shot at them. I think the latest report I heard was 21 times. And even as this young woman, Sarah Milgram, tried to crawl away while injured and get away from her executioner, he reloaded and shot again, and they both were killed. They were a couple. They were about to be engaged, apparently, next week. There's been a lot of reports about both of them and just, what kind and good people they were who were trying to make the world a better place. It also so happens that they both worked for the Israeli embassy. Sarah grew up in, I believe, Kentucky, somewhere in the United States, and was Jewish. And she joined the embassy shortly after October 7th, 2023. Yaron was apparently not Jewish. He was Christian and grew up in Germany and moved to Israel. They both worked for the embassy. That's where they met, for the Israeli embassy. What's important to note here, and I think really the simple point that I want to make, is their shooter, this murderer, he did not know when he shot them that they worked for the embassy. What he did know, what is very clear from all the reporting, from all of the evidence, is two things. One, that this was a Jewish museum. It was an event that was held for young Jewish people. So he was targeting Jews. And in fact, the latest reporting coming out is that he bought a ticket to this event, which is the only way you could get the address of the event, that he bought a plane ticket to come from Chicago to DC. He bought a gun legally and packed it in his suitcase and checked it. And he was coming specifically to this event to target Jews. When he did the shooting, immediately afterwards, he was apprehended shortly afterwards. There was a little bit of time period in between, but he did not escape the view of surveillance cameras and witnesses. So this is not a crime of identity. But there were cameras that showed up because of, shooting on the streets of Washington, D.C. And he turned to the cameras when he was apprehended and he yelled, "I did it for Gaza, free, free Palestine." Now, what I want to be clear about is this was an anti-Semitic hate crime. He was targeting Jews in a place where he knew Jews were. The political statement, or what one could claim is a political statement or argue is a political statement, we are not here to debate the merits of that. This is not actually about Gaza or about what the Israeli government is doing or not doing, or whether someone likes it or doesn't like it. Everyone is entitled to their own views about that. What this is about is the murder of Jews intentionally, and it has to be called out for that. And what happened is very quickly, the framing in the media, and I don't even think it was necessarily intentional, but they think about it, it very quickly came out that these two young people worked for the Israeli embassy. And so all of the headlines were, two employees of Israeli embassy murdered. And it really feeds into or fed into that narrative that he, the shooter, was trying to promulgate, to promote, that this was a political act, that somehow this was justified or rationalized by the fact that he was doing it in the name of freeing freeing, I use that in quotes, Gaza or Palestinians. And, on social media, what you then saw was this incredibly horrific, I think, running commentary on news sites and others about basically, celebrating the murder of, quote, Zionist officials. That was one of the posts, that this was an expression of anti-Zionism, that this was a political act. And some of that would happen regardless of the employment of these two victims. But I think it was doubly highlighted and more intense because of the reporting, the initial headlines, that they were employees of the Israeli embassy. He did not know that. He had no way of knowing it. It could have been any two other people or three people or one person who was walking out at that moment. This was an execution of Jews. And it really is just so disheartening to me as a Jewish American to see people trying to rationalize murder, intentional murder, because of a political cause, whatever that cause is. This is not a debate about Gaza or the Palestinians or the Israeli government. Everyone can have their own opinions and issues. I do, but I'm not even going to express them here because it's not relevant. What we cannot tolerate in this country, what will make us not a democracy, not an open, free, and democratic society, is when people think it is okay to use violence for political purposes. And we have to draw the line there, period. This is being investigated still by the FBI. More will come out, but there's actually a lot of information out already for such a recent crime. It will be investigated and likely charged as a hate crime, possibly as an act of terrorism. But I think this goes beyond how this is charged. It's really an issue about our country and our morality and our tolerance and our relationship to violence. And it's not going to end with the Jews. So even if someone wants to write this off as, well, political violence against Jews, anti-Semitism, no, it will not end there. We've seen other examples of it with the shooting of the United Healthcare executive in the name of, anti-insurance company politics. And there are other examples. And so I really hope that everyone, regardless of your feelings, beliefs about Israel, about Gaza, about the Palestinians, even about Jews, can understand that intentional murder, violence, is not okay. There's just no justification for it. So it's a really simple point. I hope people can take it in good faith and listen with an open mind. Seems it shouldn't even be controversial, but I know that there is some people who will disagree with that. So I will be signing off now for Talking Feds. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.